Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Jake.
And this is Mac.
And we are here with our second episode of Sumo Fitness, where we're going to get in great shape, and Mac is going to try to join professional sumo in Japan.
Yes, I will do my brand of sumo.
He's taking it one day at a time, and he is very happy.
Yes, a brief interlude from the back of my thighs. Ow!
Ah, yes, of course, got to get that input in here.
Yes, they wanted to at least do a shout out of that.
And of course, we have Ed from the United States Sumo Federation back. Welcome back, Ed. And I would like your help, by the way, as long as we got you on the podcast. I was having a political argument on Facebook, and I know we don't want to bring politics and stuff into the podcast too much, but I'm hoping you can help me resolve a really important question here.
Let's see. I'll give it a shot.
Ed, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh man! All right, so.
No,
I've been giving this a lot of thought. Actually,
engage this.
I know it's been trending on Twitter. It's a very important thing to know about, and I need to know everyone's stance on it.
I've been pretty strong in the hot dog is not a sandwich camp, but I was watching some old advertisements, like the kinds that they would show at drive-in theaters, and in the 50s, hot dogs were almost always referred to as sandwiches. Not only that, they were presented on their side like a sandwich, like bread on the bottom, hot dog in the middle, bread on top. So I think historically a hot dog is a sandwich.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, that's a good point about the presentation, because currently, like, the modern picture of the hot dog is like a bowl made out of bun with the sandwich,
yes.
or with the, geez, I keep wanting to say sandwich, with the hot dog on top. But yeah, I've noticed I'm definitely pro sandwich on this one. And I mean, for me, anybody who tries to say it's not a sandwich, there just aren't any arguments that make any sense to me. Like it's meat between bread, and that kind of seems to be like the borderline of like what is a sandwich. And I don't know how you can really dispute that a hot dog is technically a sandwich. But either way,
I'm going with history and tradition on this. I think it's a sandwich.
It's like it is meat between two pieces of bread.
Yeah. So again, sorry to get all political on everybody here, but I think it's just something that we don't want to hide our opinions, hide what this podcast is all about. We want to be ourselves and admit publicly the kinds of things that we believe in. But so anyways, glad you're joining us, Ed, because now it's been 2 whole weeks and we have mastered the shiko.
Hi.
So we need.
All right.
Yeah, of course we're experts on that now, and we need to add more exercise to it. But before we do that, Ed, can you tell me a little bit about these muscles I'm discovering that I have, and tell me why they're so sore?
Well, why don't you guys tell me a little bit? How many have you gotten up to, and how's it feeling? What's going on when you actually do these?
I can kick that off, Jake, if you want.
Go for it.
Initially, so after our first video, I was like, all right, I can do this. It's just like squatting, no problem. I watched a couple of those intro videos. I'm like, all right, so it's just wider. We'll keep a wide base, knees pointed out. I'm like, okay, that's new. And the very first time I went down, I was like, my body can do this. What is this? Like, keep the back straight. I'm like, okay, now just shift over. And actually, I've got some video of the first time I tried this, and I lost my balance. So there's some video of me out there falling over and falling back into my laundry chute. So that could be coming in a future episode.
Yeah, I did not know about this video, and now I need it.
Yeah, I try to totally play it off like, yeah, I meant to do that, but no. Was that?
It's part of the shiko.
Yeah. Indeed. But in trying to keep the knees out, trying to balance everything, and trying to keep the back straight so that everything goes down and stays in the same, I guess, plane is the right way to say it. Just when you shift up and then shift back down with your legs, you don't want to kick. It's just a
you got the right idea.
Well, kind of.
Yep.
But I would say after the first set of 10, which initially took me about 10 minutes to do, I was like, this hurts.
Oh man. Yeah, how is it going now? Like what number are you doing like in a set, and like how often are you doing them?
I do them every night now, and I can crank out a set of 10 in 2 minutes. Now
Oh
that
wow,
I've been
you're
doing
going
it for a
real
couple of
slow.
weeks, I'm like, all right, this works.
I gotcha.
And how many sets have you gotten up to?
Well, we had talked about doing 50, so I can comfortably do 50, and then
50
I
sets of
started
10.
well, right. No, I just do so what I do then is I wanted to do some push-ups in betweens because I watched the other video of the sumo push-ups, keeping it in close and tight. So I just alternate. I do 10, do a bunch of real fast rep push-ups, do another set of 10. And
All right.
just trying to maintain 50, keep that nice balance going, and ready for was waiting until we got to the next session.
And Jake, how about you?
For me, I definitely am going higher on the quantity. I think for me, part of it is I I didn't realize that this would be a problem, but I get bored. Like
Mm,
you mentioned it as something like it's something where you want to like it can eventually be like kind of a meditative thing. It can be
yeah.
kind of soothing mentally even while you're exerting yourself. And I've kind of found I definitely am not there yet. So I can't speak for my form because I'm sure it's not perfect, but I definitely feel like I'm improving because I'm getting like the same muscles are sore each day, for one thing, and they feel similar. But with all those disclaimers, I have a couple times now done 100 without stopping.
100 without stopping. All right. Have you
Yes.
Nice.
hit 200 in a day yet?
I have, but basically, if I do 100, I'm annihilated for a number of hours. But I can
All
come
right.
back and like do my other 100 in like 2 or 3 sets later in the day, maybe. Um,
I'm,
but
uh, I'm not mad at that. That's all right. If you were coming into the gym and saying you wanted to be a champ, I might have some other things to say. But for two
sure.
podcasters, this is a valiant effort so far.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Awesome.
But yeah, for me, the things that I'm working on, yeah, like Mac said, falling over. I don't think I haven't gone down the laundry chute, Mac. And at your place, that could be like
That was a first for me too. I was not expecting that. I'm like, I can do this. I can balance. No,
in
I
in
cannot.
your house, that could be like a 3-story drop if you went down the laundry chute, right?
Well, luckily I was in the basement, so I just ran into the
No,
chute. So
I've definitely lost my balance. Depending on how I'm doing my sets, it can happen more often. Sometimes not. The way that I've been able to get those long sets and like focus, generally, I want something else going on, so I'll put on a podcast or something like that and listen to it. And I kind of I have better success if I'm tracking it with I have like a little clicker counter. So like I'll do a set of 10 and I'll click but like keep the set going. And that way I can stay focused because if I'm focusing on is how much it hurts, then it totally kills it for me now. I can only
Yeah, yeah.
in complete silence counting myself mentally, I think my best is like 50 or 60. But if I'm distracted, I can get a little bit better.
I was thinking you might say that. So down the road, you want to get rid of that. But early on, the most important thing is just that you get those numbers in. So no problem, I think, if you want to listen to a podcast, put on TV, whatever you need to distract you. But down the road, I think one of the best things about sumo is that, like, if you think about it, we spend so much of our day with our mind doing one thing and our body doing something else, right? Like you're in the grocery store, but you're thinking about what you're going to have for dinner. You're at work, but you're really thinking about something else you'd rather be doing. When you do sumo, those two things come together, right? And like mind and body are working together. So I'm not saying now, I'm saying get up to the 200 and get comfortable. But once you do that, eventually you want to get away from the podcasts and get away from the TV or whatever's distracting you. And actually, I think what'll happen is you'll get less bored, right? You'll give your mind less wander. See that focus come. It's painful, whatever you got to do to get through the 200. Listen to something, whatever it takes. And eventually it'll get easier and you'll start to feel that meditative state sink in.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one other thing that I was gonna bring up was over the last couple of weeks I've noticed the soreness from doing the squat part started out being the hardest part. and that pain has been fading a little bit. So I think
absolutely.
once I get rid of like that, and I'm more like in my more recent sets and in my longer sets, I'm feeling more of that like stretch and more. It feels more like a stretch than a lift, and I think
Yeah.
I
And
think
that's
that
what I
part of it
enjoy
might
about
be
it.
yeah. When the times that I have gone really deep in the zone and like my hips have popped 2 or 3 times by the once I'm getting into several dozen of them,
Well, of course.
I can totally start to feel where it's feeling more like a stretch, but that squat is still like, even if I wasn't doing the shiko part, 100 squats is still like a hurdle. So
Yeah.
when we get a little bit more muscle there, that might be better. But yeah, those are some of the things that I've kind of noticed, and I totally get that. And I'm gonna work on more of the focus.
That's great, man. That sounds just about right. Yeah, really getting into that stretch is super important. So at the bottom, make sure you're really like squeezing your hips through and kind of rotating your leg out. And same thing at the top. Really lean into that stretch and feel that all down the back of your leg. Um, uh, and as the muscle soreness goes away, you'll like you said, you'll be able to enjoy the stretch a lot more.
See, what I enjoy about it is you get into a rhythm, and it you just kind of focus on your breathing a little bit more. You just shift your weight over, lift your leg, count 3 seconds, and then stomp. It's the stomp that kind of resets it for me. Deep breath, do the next leg, and just repeating that over and over again. So I
Yeah.
can see where the meditative part does come in.
And a couple little things you can do as well is like when you're at the bottom, you can use your hand. I'm doing it here on camera, which isn't too helpful to our listeners.
Yeah, I can't really see that.
But but you can, when you're at the bottom, you can use your hand. So like you put your left hand on your left knee and you almost pry that knee out, and you can pry that right knee out the same way. And you can do that to sort of open up your hips. And same thing at the top. Sometimes I'll kind of hook like the meat of my hamstring and pull up on that upper leg a little bit to try to raise that leg a little bit higher like this. You just kind of pull up a little bit more and you work on that upper flexibility. So yeah, as the muscles, the strenuous challenge to your muscles starts to go away, you'll be able to kind of pull and stretch those the flexibility part of this a little bit more.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've kind of noticed in myself versus the video is like that's like 30 to 45 degrees further than I can go. But but as we've been practicing and as I try to like once I'm done while the muscles are still warm, I try and do a little bit of just split stretching a little bit. That's a very generous term for it, but just so that you know which stretch I'm talking about. Um, Try to get a little bit more flexibility, and I honestly can't say that I've widened my shiko yet, but I can definitely feel that I'm working the right spot in order to do that. So
That's great, man. That's great.
I see Abi like lift his legs straight vertical when he does those, and that's like, that's never gonna happen. But I would love to improve what I can do.
What is a good angle to lift? So no, in the ones that I've done, I've tried to keep it parallel with my waist, maybe a little bit higher. But is there an overstretch?
No, there is no overstretch. So like you mentioned, Abi, Jake. Yeah, Abi's got great shiko. You can bring it up pretty much as far as your body lets you.
Okay.
There's no angle that's really too high.
Yeah, for me, like that angle isn't super high yet, but like I definitely feel the spot where it doesn't go any higher. And that's the spot where I try to aim for it and keep going as every single one has to go all the way up to get the stretch for each step.
Yeah. Something you might experiment a little bit with too is try it with crossed arms once in a while. I've seen Taka no Hana doing this, and you just cross your arms and you do it like that, and you'll learn a lot about your body and how your legs are working when you do that. A lot of the little things you're doing with your upper body and your hands to kind of keep your balance, that'll go away, and you're going to be much more reliant on using good form with your legs to keep it going.
Awesome.
I'm not saying do it like that every time, but it's a nice experiment. It's a nice little way to check in with yourself.
Yeah, that sounds like a recipe for falling over for me.
It's not as bad. Once you fall over the first time, Jake, it's not as bad.
Oh man, yeah, I don't have a whole lot of forgiveness in this room where I tend to do them on like I tend to like try and take like a morning and an afternoon break from work or something, and generally that's when I've been doing my biggest sets. So yeah, in this room there's a lot of pointy things that I need to keep an eye out for. But yeah, regardless, yeah, the balance is definitely something that it didn't take too long for me to get the idea of the balance. So I feel like I very quickly got up to like, 90% of the time my balance is okay. And from like, 50 or 60% of the time. But yeah, I still definitely struggle with that. And obviously that's part of the exercise to keep your balance. Yeah, the I don't know about you, Mac. What muscles are the most sore on you? Because I'm getting these outer hip muscles and kind of like the top of the butt. Apparently, those are the muscles I did not have yet.
Yep, nope, mine definitely the top of my glutes, and then I would just say the back of my thighs primarily.
Mm.
Just like all along the underside.
So one thing, if you feel your glutes a little bit, that might just be okay because you're not used to it. But if you feel your glutes too much, you might be having a tendency to sort of rotate into it, and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're keeping your hips very square to the front as you come up.
Okay.
And that might take some of the strain off your glutes. So I remember that like from the early going when I was first getting into this, having some trouble where like I was just killing my glutes every time I did this, and I didn't know what was wrong or why I couldn't do good shiko. But that's something you just want to be mindful of. Keep your hips square to the front, and don't rotate into it because then you're going to overwork the glutes.
I gotcha. Yeah, I think I do that sometimes, just aiming to get a better stretch out of it. I think maybe that's part of my reaction. But yeah, when my body wants to, as I go up higher, kind of twist open a little bit more, kind of twist
Yeah.
my toes apart, I guess, that direction. So I should be trying to avoid that, right? Try and face one direction and not turn from that.
Yeah, I mean, twist open, but don't twist closed, right? So like you want your toes to be twisting up towards the sky and not down towards the ground.
I see. Okay.
Okay.
So maybe
All
I'm
right,
on the
all
right
right.
track there a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay.
Just remember toes up. Okay.
Yeah, and another thing, Ed texted me since the last episode. One thing that you were worried we didn't mention was try not to stomp with your just purely on your heel, because yeah, then you can hurt your heel.
Yeah. That'll hurt. You probably learned that.
Yes.
But yeah, so land with the ball of your foot and then your heel. And Ed, you were saying
it's very subtle. It's like a little pop pop. Like you can barely tell the difference between the two sounds, but you'll feel it. It feels kind of nice once you get into it. Have you guys felt that yet? Or are you still working on it?
No, I've definitely felt it.
I'm usually going on carpet, so it's less of a big deal for me. But yeah, I definitely have noticed it. The times that I do it in the basement on the concrete, it's very easy to tell when I do it wrong.
Yeah.
It just jars your whole leg.
Bam. Oh crap. Okay.
Ow,
well,
ow.
work on that. Oh well. But yeah, so we're still working our way towards that 201 set is the end game. And yeah, the pace that you were talking about, Ed, you say that takes around 20 minutes or so. So I try and keep in mind, give or take 6 seconds a shiko, like 3 seconds or so at the top, another 3 seconds or so down, give or take.
Yeah, and you know what? Especially because you're kind of still feeling out the movement. If it took you 30 minutes, I'm not mad at that either. I think that's a good amount of time to take if you really want to feel out the stretch and work on your form. 20 is like when you're comfortable doing it. 30 might be a good place to start. So anywhere in that range.
Okay. Yeah, for me the danger is going too quickly because I want to get it over with. And not get a good enough stretch out of it. That's where my instinct tells me to go. But so for me,
slow it down to 20 at least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've been very happy with the 50. So now am I ready to increase then, go up to 100 then? Next goal?
You're ready to go to 200. Honestly,
all right, let's do it.
If you got legs, you can do 200 shiko. It's just a matter of how badly you want to get through it. So, I mean, if you guys want to feel a little bit of like the psychological side of sumo, I'd say start tomorrow, every single day, 200, no matter what. And it's going to suck and it's going to be a grind, but you're going to experience a whole other thing from what you've been experiencing physically, right? You're going to see a little bit of that psychological grind. And trust me, if you got legs, you can do it. It's just going to suck.
I'm for it. Let's do it.
Oh, well. So yeah, as we work towards that, we're also working in new exercises. So like we talked about last time, push-ups is one of the other classic exercises that everybody knows that would be good for sumo. But we want to work in some more traditional stuff as well. Eventually work up a repertoire of sumo exercises that we're doing every day and that we know how to do. So Ed, you were saying as we were talking before the show, the new one we want to introduce this time is Suriashi. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how that one works?
Yeah, so shiko is probably the most fundamental exercise of sumo, but suriyashi is the actual movement that you use when you're in the ring, right? So that's the way you're going to be moving around the ring when you fight. So again, just like last time, probably the best place to look for like an in-depth video where you can really see this happen is Takeshi's channel again. So Amita Sumo.
Amita Sumo channel.
There we go. Amita Sumo channel. So you can check it out there. Suriashi. It's Suriashi. And this is the way you move around the ring. So, I mean, the basics of it is you get down into like that bottom koshiwari position, the bottom of the shiko, like as if you're squatting down to do a shiko. And instead, you start sliding forward 1 foot at a time. And you really don't want your feet to leave the ground, and you want to keep your knees nice and turned out and your hips through. And so it's getting into that bottom shiko position, but then doing something with it and moving. And probably the biggest thing that people have trouble with is they want to like pick their feet up or they want to move their feet in and out. And what you want to do is, if you imagine that you're on the sand, you've got one straight line and your right foot drags one straight line across, your left foot drags one straight line across, and they don't come in or out. They don't leave the ground. They're just straight across. It's almost like a bulldozer went over it.
Gotcha. And we're staying low that entire time. Like, are we talking like fully like thighs parallel to the ground, like bottom of the squat level?
Yeah, I would say thighs at least parallel to the ground. And you can feel it out. And people do shiko for different reasons and with slightly different styles. Like if you watch 100 sumo wrestlers do, suriyashi. If you watch 100 sumo wrestlers do suriyashi, you're going to see different things. And depending on what they're working on specifically at that moment, they might do it a little differently. But yeah, you want to be on the low side. So yeah, I'd say thighs parallel to the ground is a pretty good place to start.
Gotcha. And just depending on the space everybody has available to work out in, it'll be varied as far as like number of sets or how long a set is or what that means. But what kind of time frame are we talking about, or what kind of distance are we looking at?
Well, I'd say a good starting point would be thinking about the distance of the ring, which is about 15 feet across. So start with 15 feet. That's like 5 paces basically if you take long steps and kind of measure that out. And you want to slide back and forth. I would say a good starting point for you guys would be like 12 times. So 12 times, and that's 12 total. So 6 there, 6 back, however you want to do it. Or if you want to, walk back in one direction and start again. But 12 total. And I'd say by the end of the next 2 weeks, you can work up to about 20. These aren't going to kill you, but this is more of a technical thing. And you'll be feeling out a lot of the same muscles that you feel in shiko as well.
I can definitely speak for that because I admit I read ahead a little bit, and I tried this. I tried this one time.
Cheater.
I actually have the Ed, you probably know this off the top of your head. The technique book with all the drawings of every single
Tom Zabel's book. Yeah.
Zabel, thank you. Yes, so Tom Zabel's book has one page with like an example sumo workout. And I tried that for like 2 or 3 days, like the whole set, and that just killed me because I was starting way too hard. But for what it's worth, I did try the suriyashi a couple times and like back and forth across my basement. And what I noticed instantly was walking while doing that squat position is so much harder than it looks like you're doing. So like if you're already down in that position, that's okay, because normally when I'm in that position, it's because I'm going down and then I'm coming right back up and then everything is fine and everything is happy. But if you go down to that position and then start shuffling forwards, that just, my thighs were immediately like, this is wrong. I don't want to do this.
Yeah, it's not a natural thing to do. If anybody does it for the first time and they think it feels good, they're doing it wrong. It's very unnatural. It's a strange way of moving your body.
Now, what about your upper torso? Are you moving that? Are you rolling? Are you keeping it stationary?
So you'll see guys sort of roll sometimes or act like they're grabbing the belt. There's a lot of different things you can do. But I think when you're just getting started, all of that is just going to be a way of you cheating a little bit and turning and twisting your hips. And you want to make sure your hips are facing forward. So I just always suggest kind of lock your hands in, elbows together, hands together, as if you're pushing a good guy. And you don't move from that. Stay right there. Don't let your upper body move. Because if you do start to roll your elbow a little bit and stuff early on, you're going to use that to cheat and then tell yourself that you're doing these things really well when in fact your hips are swaying. So eventually you can get to that, but start out locked in up top so that you really make sure you're honest with your hips. Because that's a big thing. When you do this, a lot of guys turn their hips from side to side. They do all kinds of movement. You really don't want that. You want hips facing forward the whole time, straight across, no sway, no movement, just dead on.
Sounds good. Yeah, one other thing that I've
Noted that down.
seen that's kind of funny is when people when I have seen videos of people doing this exercise, there's the other thing that seems very unnatural to me is when like for example, I've seen a couple where they act like they're pushing and thrusting as they're walking forward. And without fail, everyone is always pushing with their right arm or pumping their right arm forward when they take a step with their right foot, as opposed to like normal walking or running, you want to do like opposite.
Yeah,
So what's up with that?
Yeah, that's just the way things are in sumo, right? So when you advance with your right arm, you advance with your right foot. When you advance with your left arm, you advance with your left foot. And there's a number of reasons for that, but the simplest explanation is just do that because that's what works. And a lot of guys who come from football, they struggle because that's like the opposite of what you would do there. But that's the way to go. But anyway, you don't have to worry about that because you'll just lock your hands in together, lock your elbows together. And when I say together, like tighter than tight with the elbows. I used to think, oh, elbows in, from wrestling. And if you're a wrestler, you think elbows in. Sumo elbows in is like way more in than in any other sport.
Well, I am excited to try that. I guess last thing from my very brief and horrible encounter with trying this exercise last time, I did notice my feet on the concrete of the basement. Friction built up real quick there and wasn't very comfortable. What kind of surface would you normally do this on, and any advice on how to take care of your feet?
Man, I'm just lucky. I was blessed with good feet, but I see some guys that get their feet torn up. And I think it just comes down to luck or genetics, or if you didn't wear shoes as a kid. Like I never wore shoes as a kid, and now my feet are just tough. So I like concrete. Concrete's the best way to go. But if you're having trouble getting your feet torn up, what part is getting torn?
For me, it was like the inside of my big toes for the most part as I was dragging my feet forwards. Is that a
Oh,
technique thing, or is that me being a wuss thing?
with the Suriashi?
Right.
Oh yeah. All right. So
I thought you were getting it torn up on the shiko, Jake. I was like,
Oh,
what
I'm
are you
sorry.
doing
Yeah,
with the
no, I'm
shiko,
sorry.
man?
The sliding across the floor was what was getting uncomfortable. It could be something where I just need to
Okay.
like work on my form and stuff. But I was just curious if that was something that you or anybody else had run into, Ed.
no, man, big toes getting torn up is a very good sign. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but a lot of times you'll see sumo wrestlers with their big toe taped. Even sometimes nothing else but the big toe. Like Haruba Fuji, I feel like always had his big toes taped. So that's a good sign. That's very normal. That's kind of what's supposed to happen. You might build up a little bit of a callus over time. Like I kind of just have a little callus, and that's it. It doesn't tear. It doesn't go away. I don't have any problems with it. But tape is the way to go.
Gotcha. I'll tough it out. I'll tough it out this time, and if I'm doing it for more than like 1, 2, 3 days at once, that then I'll have the opportunity to build something up for sure. But yeah, that was just one of my many regrets about the last time I tried it.
That's a good sign, though. A torn up big toe means you're doing something right.
Gotcha. Okay, I'll wear it as a badge of honor.
Yeah.
That nobody will see.
Oh man. Well, I think I'm good to go for the next couple weeks here. We'll do another 2 weeks or so. Mac, did you have any other questions or anything you wanted to add right away?
Nope. Other than, do you want us to still? I know we had discussed maybe trying to get some video of us trying to with our techniques so that at least you could view them. You still willing to do that?
Yeah, whatever you guys want to do, that sounds cool. If you send me some video, I'll take a look and I'll give you some tips.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
Awesome.
totally spaced on that part, but yeah, I will make a note for myself to not space on it. Oh well. So yeah, again, we're looking at starting with 12 dohyo crossings worth of suriyashi, and we're looking to work our way up to 200 shiko. Ideally, one set every day, 200. And that's where our exercise is officially, plus however many sumo push-ups you can work into it.
Yes.
And if you really want to hit it hard, don't work up to it. Just do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, 200 shiko, and every day from then on, 200. I'm telling you, it's a mental barrier.
I had already repressed the memory of you telling me that I could do it if I really wanted it. So
Well, this is going to be suck. This is just I'm looking forward to it, but this is going to suck.
Embrace the suffering.
Well, if I'm going to start that tomorrow, I'm going to spite you, Ed, and not do the last set of 50 and just call it 150 for today, and then move on with my life here.
I'll take that.
But yeah, I think that'll just about do it here. So yeah, like I said, expect another one of these in around 2 weeks. Send us pictures, send us videos, send us stories of how your legs are angry at you. We'll be happy to share any stories if anybody's following along with us on the show or anything like that. But what's the crap that Ryan says at the end of the episode? Something about leave us reviews and stuff if you like it.
Leave us good reviews. Don't leave bad reviews. Good reviews only.
And something about social media, like how we have it.
Yeah, we got Twitter, we got Facebook, we got all kinds of fun things.
We got a blog, and then Mac tells us what our email address is.
Yeah, at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com, and you can call us at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
All right, we'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Hopefully, everybody still has 2 functioning legs by then.
Good luck.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high
and keep moving forward.